Welcome back to the Telco Drift, a podcast exploring tech, telecoms, and other sci-fi stories. I am Pablo, your host, and in today's episode, we will go through a few recent developments that are worth discussing and that I think should be on your radar. Now, we will chat about satellite AI, network slicing, and emerging strategies. This was initially supposed to be a pub episode. However, I tried to record it. There was actually a lounge, not a pub. The sound was terrible. So then I recorded again in the studio. Sound was somehow still terrible. Recorded again, nothing better. And now this, I think, is like the fourth time or so that I'm trying to record this episode. So clearly, there is a little bit of a curse on the pub episode. But hopefully, the fourth time is going to be a charm. So let's see. Let's see what we get here. Now let's get started though. Let's dive into the main themes of today's episode. So first of all, satellite is quite a hot market right now, and it should be in your radar, whether you're a believer or not. The most interesting announcement that we've seen recently is definitely Amazon Leo acquisition of Globalstar. Now, if you know me, if you have been following me on LinkedIn, if you read what I wrote with my other analyst hat, you know I'm a bit skeptical about whether this acquisition will do what Amazon Leo wants to do. And could this acquisition be only about spectrum? Possibly. Is the spectrum good enough for what Amazon Leo wants to do? That's up for debate. The bottom line, though, is not related on whether the acquisition will be successful or not, is that this is a chess game that is being played right now. There is like an $11 billion chip that was put on the table. So lots of things happening in this market. And just selecting another couple of very quick satellite-related announcements, DT partnered with Starlink to launch the Starlink broadband. And I think if you're a telco, position yourself as a sovereign player. Starlink is not the right partner for you because Starlink is as far as you can think from a sovereign partner at this point in time. Now, the other interesting thing that has happened, AST, Space Mobile, Bluebird 7, failed to reach right orbit. It was launched using Blue Origin reusable Glenn rocket. It's it happens in this market, though it's sort of the impact of this, I think, is bigger for AST because of the more limited number of satellites the company wants to have in its constellation. On a more positive side, from sort of this failed attempt to launch the satellite in orbit, the reusable rocket, by the way, there is a reference there, never tell me the odds, I love that reference, managed to land. So something positive came out of a very unfortunate launch overall. There are many other things that I could say about satellite, the relevance of sovereignty, the relevance of supply chain, but, not going to go through all of that right now. Instead, I will move from satellite to literature. So last episode, I had the pleasure to have my good friend Amy join me on the podcast, and we talked about a little bit of everything. We did not have time, however, to discuss book recommendation. So, later on, I caught up with her, and here are a couple of her recommendations. One is Babel, The Necessity of Violence, and the other recommendation is The Master and Margarita. So, Amy, if you're listening to the podcast, I know now you're like, a core fan of the podcast, let me know just to ensure that I didn't butcher your recommendation, and, feel free to comment if I missed anything. So, what's next after books? Well, has to be AI. There are a couple of positive things about AI and a couple of negative things about AI. On the positive side, it's interesting to see telcos taking different paths. This is rare in the market. Usually telcos do the same thing. Think about 5G adoption. Someone may do it earlier, someone later on, but everyone is going in the same direction. With AI, things are a little bit different. So, for instance, SK Telecom has been partnered with ARM and Korean AI chip startup Rebellions to develop AI inference server solution. If we stick to the Korean market, I know NVIDIA has been working with multiple partners, including LGI Research, Never Cloud, SK Telecom, advancing with the aim to advance sovereign AI foundation models. This is something not everyone is going to be doing, and that's again why AI can create different fortunes in the telco world. If you look at interesting things happening in Europe, Deutsche Telekom launched its AI factory, and I think Orange has been working also to launch an AI factory. But now that was positive, right? On the more negative side of AI, this probably could be seen as oversimplifying things, but there is a certain circularity in the economy of AI. So if you look closely, not even that closely, you will see that some suppliers are investing in those companies that will then buy their own products. So effectively, I want to sell apples. I'm giving money to someone to buy my apples. Apple was probably not a great comparison, but you see the sense of it. It's a little bit worrying because there are all these investment, and there is this growth that is kind of being fueled by yourself, like creating the demand, and there is an expectation that eventually someone's going to start splashing lots of money on AI, someone new. I'm a bit skeptical about that, and that I think it's a little bit worrying. But let me know if I'm oversimplifying this too much. Possibly, very likely I am. Just something to keep in mind, I think, that so far the output, the end company will actually pay for that much AI is still not there, I think. Instead, if I'm looking on the impact that AI is having right now, well, there's been announcement from Meta and Microsoft announcing layoff because of the high cost of AI. And this brings another negative side of the AI story. It's like, if AI succeeds, it's going to optimize a lot of processes and your job is at risk. However, even if it doesn't succeed, your job is at risk because AI is so costly that companies are reducing their headcounts in order to improve their balance sheet because AI costs so much to develop and to implement. So, the average Joe like myself, we are kind of living with that sword upon our head and just waiting for it to fall or not. A little bit on the negative side, definitely. And sticking on the negative side of things, I believe there have been rumors that Apple has stopped or scaled back the future development of its Vision Pro. For those that are not familiar with it, the Vision Pro is the ridiculously expensive VR headset that it was developing. So it seems that resources have been shifted towards other projects and lighter AI glasses. At the same time, I believe that sort of Meta also started putting on the chopping board its metaverse. There was like an 80 billion something investment. Now, don't know if you've seen it. I've never really understood why people would want to engage in the metaverse. But yeah, clearly VR hasn't had a good few months. And it's strange. I also remember, playing with the PlayStation 5. They also had their own VR headset, and I believe they also discontinued it. I actually like that product very much, but clearly VR is not hitting the mark in terms of driving customer, whereas a consumer enterprise usage of it. And when talking about VR and AI, perfect plug-in for a movie recommendation. The movie is called Nirvana, and it touches on sort of VR element, AI element, and also consciousness. So make sure to have a look at it and let me know what do you think about it. So in all this dark and gloom, what type of news can, change this narrative? And of course, has to be private networks. Now, recently, Vodafone UK launched a 5G plus local slicing and 5G boost, and effectively, is the 5G plus local slicing is what the title says. You're gonna have the virtual local slice in an area up to 5 square kilometers. It's targeted at stadium logistics, hubs, university campuses, and so on. So what I like is that we see more productization of network slicing, but I think the bottleneck remains the same. I don't think the public network was designed with so much capacity everywhere to sustain both consumers as well as different types of slicing. Of course, telcos are telling me a different story, but um, you know, why would you really deploy a costly network with such higher capacity than realistically needed over like a certain amount of time? Of course, you can have a chat with your telco and you can get additional infrastructure, additional run, but the moment you're doing that, shouldn't you just better look at a fully dedicated one? I think so, but we'll see. Good to see there's some innovation, and also Global Star XCOM Run end-to-end product was recently launched in the market, so um, there is some lag into the niche version of the private networks market. So moving on then on the strategic side of things, maybe a little bit more consumer, and I don't talk a lot about consumers because the consumer market is not giving me anything interesting. Honestly, it's like I'm sorry for the analysts covering consumers; it's kind of boring. But I'm trying very hard, so maybe I just need to, put more efforts into finding interesting consumer stuff. And but going back to sort of that strategic shift, MVNOs may well as be players to watch out for driving innovation. So US Mobile, for instance, is bundling its MVNO proposition across all three large telcos with Starlink satellite broadband. And I think this is something that's going to be replicated, will be replicated in other countries. And interestingly, I think there was an article, I don't remember from where T-Mobile said we're not interested in having Starlink becoming an MVNO for us because they wouldn't increase our total addressable market. And that's a fair point. Probably though, I don't think that should be the only reason not to get Starlink more involved into the mobile world. I think there is like a little bit of a risk of, a company with high ambition and uh, a company that no one really knows or wants to go. So any partnership with that is high risk, high reward if you want. But sticking to MVNOs, supermarket chain Lidl is set to expand its MVNO operation to potentially 30 countries. So I like the size of this, and I like sort of what could represent like a new competitive player entering different market. MVNOs is interesting because some have been successful. I believe Tesco Mobile in the UK has been quite successful. But I also remember a few like Disney Mobile, ESPN Mobile, or in Italy MTV Mobile that failed to be, to gain scale, failed to be successful. And it's interesting because the basic MVNO proposition is always the same. I'm going to target a very narrow, very niche segment of the market that creates synergies with my main business. So that's it. That's what an MVNO normally tries to do. Some people manage to do that and some people don't. So let's see where the little MVNO will end up. And last thing that I want to discuss, we move again away from MVNOs, and this time Nokia has announced that it will sell its fixed wireless access part of the business to Inseego. Yes, they will retain a stake in it, but effectively shows Nokia getting out of the hardware bit to focus on the areas that it highlighted as, high growth. So the mobile infrastructure side, the fixed network, the IP, and so on. So Nokia knows the strategy, and now is starting to divesting the parts that were not considered profitable enough or whose market was not big enough for Nokia. And if you look at Nokia listed results, well, some of the best that they decided to make were like bringing good results. So kudos to them. Clearly, the strategy that they are undertaking so far is giving them the good results, and just a bit unfortunate for the private networks market. But those were the announcements I want to discuss. Now, hopefully, while I start editing this, I will get some decent sound quality because honestly, I can't I can't think of recording this again. But did I miss anything? Did I miss a new announcement? Anything else you agree or disagree? Just feel free to comment and let me know if I missed anything, if I should include anything else, and also if you like this type of very kind of rough and a little bit all over the place summary of recent announcement. So feel free to comment and see you next time.